Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nama saya Hazir, saya orang Kedah. Hari ini hari Khamis 16 Januari 2025. Saya ingin berkongsi satu video klip mengenai dengan ulasan seorang penganalisis berkaitan dengan dasar pembangunan negara kita di bawah pimpinan Perdana Menteri yang ke-10 Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Perkara yang diulas ini adalah berkaitan dengan bagaimana tindakan kerajaan hari ini menangani masalah hutang, beban hutang yang telah ditinggalkan oleh kerajaan sebelum ini, dan bagaimana usaha untuk meningkatkan pendapatan negara dan juga bagaimana menyantuni kos sara hidup yang semakin meningkat yang dialami oleh rakyat terbanyak pada masa ini. Mari sama-sama kita tonton dan di hujungnya saya akan memberi sedikit ulasan pandangan saya. Dipersilakan.
One of Malaysia's economic problems as of late is the country's national debt. Yet by 2023, it has risen to over 69.8%. This rise in government debt has then led many to believe that Malaysia's economy is in trouble. How is Malaysia going to fix this? Does current Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim even have a plan to reduce the debt that Malaysia has? Well, fortunately, yes. Prime Minister Anwar does have a plan, along with his administration, to fix these problems in Malaysia. Let's first start with the government debt of Malaysia, as it is the most important one that Anwar needs to fix. Malaysia's general government gross debt to GDP stands at over 69.8%, which comparatively is actually one of the highest in Southeast Asia. It is higher than Thailand's debt, Indonesia's debt, Vietnam's COVID-19 pandemic that has led many governments globally, including Malaysia, to borrow heavy amounts of money to stimulate its economy. There are two important factors here to understand: revenues and expenditures. This is basically how a government collects money from taxes and spends money for things like infrastructure programs, the military, the police, and so on. To Malaysia's debt to rise, as the government was borrowing heavily to stimulate their economies, whilst their GDP wasn't rising as fast as the rate of borrowing. This is what Anwar has been trying to fix, by lowering the expenditures and increasing the revenues. Hence, as you can see from the table right here, the overall balance has been dropping since Anwar came into office in late 2022. In 2023, the overall balance was reduced to a negative 5%, then further to negative 4.4%, and then, as expected, in the budget 2025, to just 3.8%. This reduction in the overall balance, especially in the expected budget of 2025, is a reflection of Anwar's good fiscal management. But a lot of people aren't happy with what he has done to achieve this. Why? Well, among the many factors out there that led to this reduction, what we found to be amongst the most important ones are the increase in revenues and the reduction in expenditures. What this means, Prime Minister Anwar, since coming into office, has introduced various taxes to the Malaysian people. He has introduced taxes in luxury goods tax, dividend income tax, capital gains tax, sugar-sweetened beverages tax, sales and services tax, SST, expansion, and so on. Most of these taxes, however, as you can clearly see, are either directed towards the wealthy, targeting wealthier people, as most of these taxes are designed to ensure that the wealthiest segments of society contribute a fair share to Malaysia's revenue. To top off the increased taxes on the wealthy, these would also help reduce the inequality of Malaysia, as Anwar has been implementing targeted subsidies to the poor. If you actually listened, Anwar is basically trying to tax the rich to help increase the government revenues, money that will be used to reduce the fiscal deficit and help alleviate debt burdens. Now, it is focus on the vulnerable people. Finally, it is also important to know that, while Malaysia's debt has been high, as of late, it's mostly actually borrowed domestically. Here's what you should know, however, is that he is doing this both because he has to reduce the fiscal deficit, only target the ones who really need it the most. This is again one of the ways Anwar is trying to reduce all these inequality that Malaysia is experiencing. His debt to GDP of Malaysia is mostly held domestically, as the latest data available for the first quarter of 2024 shows that over 97.5% of all the federal government debt of Malaysia is domestic, with only 2.5% of the total held in overseas borrowing. To know that the GDP of Malaysia has steadily risen, as seen in the graph, from 1.5 trillion ringgit in 2021 to over 1.9 trillion ringgit by the first quarter of 2024. When a country borrows domestically, it owes money to its own citizens or institutions, which keeps the debt within the local economy. The government can manage this debt more flexibly since repayments are made in the local currency compared to foreign debt, which must be repaid in foreign currencies like the US dollar or euro. Now, let's talk about the household debt of Malaysia and how Anwar is trying to fix it. Here's a table of the composition of Malaysia's household debt for 2023. As you can see, 60.5% of it is from housing loans, followed by vehicle loans at 13.2%, and then personal financing at 12.6%, with the remaining spread out on things like credit card and security. So, how is he? Household debt is much more trickier to fix. Some of the things he has done so far are the likes of increasing financial literacy to help Malaysians make better financial decisions. But what also stands true is that Malaysia's interest rates may soon fall. Currently, it's still at 3%, as you can see in the graph right here. But as inflation has now gone down, it is likely that the interest rate would also drop. What this means for the household debt of Malaysia is that lower interest rates could alleviate some of the financial pressure on households. When interest rates fall, the cost of borrowing decreases, making it easier for individuals to service their loans. This could provide much-needed relief for Malaysian households, particularly those with high levels of debt tied to housing loans, personal loans, and credit card debt.
Setelah kita meneliti ataupun mendengar analisis yang telah dibuat berdasarkan pada fakta dan data yang dibuat secara without fear and favor, saya merasa yakin bahawa apa yang sedang dilaksanakan oleh kerajaan di bawah dasar pembangunan Malaysia Madani adalah berada pada landasan yang betul. Mungkin akan ada sekelompok masyarakat, rakyat yang merasa tidak sepuas hati, terutamanya golongan atasan, mereka yang berpendapatan tinggi akan merasa terjejas keselesaan mereka. Itu pada saya adalah lumrah dalam kita nak membetulkan keadaan, dalam kita nak melaksanakan sesuatu perubahan. Sudah tentulah ada kumpulan yang merasa tidak selesa. Jadi kita sebagai rakyat biasa sudah tentulah menaruh harapan yang tinggi kepada apa yang sedang dilaksanakan, dan saya yakin, saya sendiri berdasarkan pada pengalaman saya semasa berkhidmat dengan kerajaan, saya yakin tindakan ini berbeza daripada sebelum ini dan akan membuahkan hasil yang sangat baik untuk rakyat. Mudah-mudahan pencerahan saya ini memberi faedah kepada mereka yang ingin mengetahui perkara yang benar yang sedang dilakukan oleh kerajaan. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.